Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 19th of August. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barrie. How are you doing, Joshua?
Nice, Derek. Good to be here. How are you?
Yeah. Absolutely grand. Looking forward to a lunchtime kickoff tomorrow on Saturday. Rangers playing on Saturdays quite a fair bit, so long may that continue. Before we talk Rangers, just as you can see, a little ticker below, folks, we've still got that great offer on the website. So many of you taking advantage of it, so thank you for doing so. Just £2 for 2 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. I'll pop the link as ever in the comments section. If you head to that, you can sign up and you can take advantage of all the great stuff that we've got on the website just now. Okay, let's talk Rangers, Joshua. Big game tomorrow against Hibs. Rangers travel to Leith at Saturday lunchtime as they look to move to the summit of the Premiership table. Of course, they've got a 100% start in the league so far. Hibs, on the other hand, have had a bit of an iffy start under Lee Johnson. Of course, they had a disastrous League Cup campaign culminating in that ridiculous issue when they played an ineligible player that triggered a contract extension, and they lost a match. Was it Morton or something like that? They lost 3-0. So they've had a bit of a turbulent start, but listen, they're always going to be up for games against Rangers. Joshua, we know this historically. Rangers should expect to be in for a game tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm completely engaged in what you're saying, Derek. I'm just looking at the Hibs stats as we speak. And yeah, I mean, I watched a bit of their game against Livingston where Nubley was scored a brilliant goal. And I don't know if you've seen the goal, but Hibs midfielder lost the ball, and Nubley just kind of ran almost in slow motion to manage to take it past two players and score. But I think it'll be a difficult game, as it always is. Going to Easter Road always tends to be pretty tight there. Expected goals difference table, so the chances Hibs have created and the chances they've conceded, they're fourth in the table. There's only 4 teams that are in the green, so to speak, that have created more than they've conceded. Rangers, Celtic, Hearts and Hibs. And Hibs are fourth there, Rangers second. So they've had a decent start on that basis. You'd expect Hibs to, I guess, be finishing fourth, or I guess they'd expect to be finishing fourth or fifth or challenging for third. I thought they had some good moments against Livingston. They've obviously got Martin Boyle back as a really good player, and scored that hat-trick against Rangers last season, didn't he? From the right, or he was maybe playing a bit more central that day. The other stat that just stands out to me, Derek, is passes per defensive action. If you don't know what that is, as it says on the tin, the number of passes that a team allows in opposition before they press them. So it's showing how vigorously they press. We were speaking last week about how Rangers allowed USG something like 2 passes per defensive action in the first 20 minutes of that second Champions League game. So pressing with real intensity. And Hibs actually have the lowest passes per defensive action they've pressed with the highest intensity so far, and it's a small sample size. And I'm not saying that to go and write an article on it, but it's just interesting to see some of their maybe their ideas how they want to play tomorrow. Lee Johnson, I've seen him speaking on Sky Sports earlier this week. He's I don't know if you've heard him speak, but he has some funny little one-liners as well. I can't remember the one he said at the weekend.
I've come across him a couple of times down south when he was Bristol City manager, first of all, right, when he went ballistic at a steward at Sheffield Wednesday. The language that was being broadcast was industrial, shall we say. And then I covered the game last year. His last game in charge of Sunderland turned out to be when they get absolutely annihilated 6-0 by Bolton. They were top of League One, and the owners sacked him, which felt a bit harsh. But he's a character, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, he was saying, look, we're going to go and attack Rangers, and that probably is if you're travelling away to one of these teams and the Edinburgh teams, when it's going to be a difficult game, you want for it to be, I guess, more of an open game. I think Van Bronckhorst is saying this tentatively because we've not seen much of this since last season. But I think ideally, and this is why Rangers looked so good in but against West Ham and Tottenham, that when they don't have to break teams down, when they can play into space, I think that suits Van Bronckhorst's teams a lot better. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but expect it to be a tough game. Looking forward to it. Early rise for me going through to the capital, Derek, but not looking forward to it. It's always a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark gets in touch. He says, rocking the Tintin look this morning, Derek. Yeah, I just realised there my hair's not it's not set its normal way. But yeah, Tintin, he was a great detective. My favourite version, I have to say. So yeah, there's worse people to look like. Ian Campbell says he gets in touch, received my 150-year programme for you. Looks awesome. Can't wait to get into it. You're very welcome, Ian. Hopefully you enjoy it as well. Lots of you getting in touch and then receiving that from us, saying great things. So if you want a copy of it, then get in touch. Let us know. Also, comment coming in here from William before we talk Hibs, of course, Joshua. It's good to note that the women's team were in action last night, of course, over in Greece, taking on the Hungarian side, Ferencváros. Lovely result for them, a 3-1 win. So fantastic for Malky Thompson and the women involved there. So hats off to the Rangers women's team. Lots of questions coming in here with regards to potential team tomorrow. Now, this question from James Doherty gets in touch. It's echoed by a number of people that are commenting in, Joshua. Do you think Alfredo will start tomorrow? We'll talk through our teams in great detail, of course, but that's it. That's a big conundrum for Giovanni van Bronckhorst, isn't it? Antonio Cholak is in a rich vein of form just now. He really has hit the ground running. But Alfredo Morelos, he does love these fixtures. He has to get game time at some point. Never featured, of course, against PSV. Who starts up front for you tomorrow?
And he's quite a good record, Morelos, at Easter Road. He scored a few goals there by my memory. I think, to James' question, I think he will start tomorrow. He's been back now for 2 weeks, probably. Only really had 1 or 2 substantial kind of periods of game time. Obviously hasn't started yet. I think when you're traveling over to PSV, I doubt you'll start, but you want the ability to play Morelos for as long as possible. I completely agree with you that Cholak's been in fantastic form. I think you can see how his game's developing as he becomes more comfortable to his teammates and vice versa. You know, we spoke about it, I think, the day after the game, Derek, the way that he was linking up well with Tavernier, making a couple of runs in behind. I thought it was his best performance by quite a distance, especially in a game against that quality of opposition. But in saying that, everyone knows what Alfredo Morelos gives you, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all to have an Alfredo Morelos who maybe feels like he has a slight point to prove. Everyone knows the characteristic. Sorry, what character he's like, and I think that's brilliant in a striker. You want someone who has the ability to maybe take if someone scored 4 goals and 4 in front of you. I don't think Morelos is the type of player that's necessarily sitting there delight for them on the bench. I think that's my place.
Did you see him on Saturday when was it Arfield that scored and he didn't look happy when the ball wasn't cut back to him at the back post? That's what you want in strikers, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And again, if you've got that type of Morelos to bring off the bench in this type of game, I think that's really important. But I would start him tomorrow, because he's been around the squad enough to presume that his maybe his sharpness isn't quite there, but his fitness is there. Give him 60 minutes, I'd say. I'd like to see him start. And as you say, we'll get into the teams. But for me, Matondo and Kent go for pace in transition and bring Ryan Jack in next to Lundstrom, and then you're talking.
Yeah, most definitely. Before we talk about that, there's some names being mentioned here in the comments, possible transfers. I've seen some names mooted yesterday in social media. Kenny, morning lads, you're aware of any Rangers interest in Evander of Midtjylland? I'm not, Kenny. I'll try and chase it up today. What I can tell you is I've seen the Romanian boy again mentioned yesterday, Darius Olaru. Led to believe there's nothing in that from a Rangers perspective. I know that it came from the Stoya Bucharest owner, Jiri Bakali. I think he's just trying to drum up a bit of interest in this player, but there's no Rangers interest in him as it stands. I think it may have all stemmed from that. I think I was sent it from a Romanian journalist last month. It hit the Romanian media, and it coincided that our scouting writer Patrick Kasky done a piece on the Rangers Review, and it was like the day after Romanian media picked it up and said that Rangers scouts were interested in this boy. So it may have emanated, it may have came from that perhaps, but no Rangers interest as it currently stands in Darius Olaru. Okay, let's talk the rest of the team tomorrow, Joshua. In terms of the back four or back five, if you include the goalkeeper, do you have any changes in that defensive structure? Now, I know Ben Davies wasn't fit enough to feature against PSV on Tuesday night. I know I've in my predicted lineups, and you can check them out on the website, folks. I've got him in alongside Connor Goldson. Of course, it's dependent if he's passes a fitness test and is able to play. But I would ideally have him alongside Goldson. And my other change in the back line, we'll see Ridvan Yilmaz come in for Borna Barisic. Would you tend to agree?
Yeah, I was off yesterday, Derek, so I've done my lineup very quickly this morning. But that is what I've went for. In saying that, there's two sides to this coin, isn't there? Because you've got James Sands, who I thought had a really good game on Tuesday night. Davies has only started once. Do you throw him in for a game like this away from home? Same goes for Yilmaz, who hasn't played much football yet. Borna Barisic knows these games inside out. Do you go with continuity and experience at this stage of the season? Is there a risk that you chuck in two new boys into the back line and it's not quite as cohesive? Maybe so. Equally, against the alternative to that would be it's just a game of football, and if you've got these players that have been brought in for a lot of money, play them. So I think I probably would go for Davies and Yilmaz. I'd like to see a bit more of Yilmaz, because obviously the only start he's had was at home to Kilmarnock, and what was quite a boring game, to be honest, Derek. I think it's fair to say that there was only 2-0. Rangers didn't create all that much. The tempo was quite slow. So yeah, I'd like to see Yilmaz play. He would have if they play Martin Boyle on the right wing, it'd be a kind of a tough test right from the start in his Scottish football career, because Boyle is very quick and, in my opinion, one of the best players outside of the old firm. And Ben Davies didn't have much to do against St Johnstone at all. He wasn't in the squad on Tuesday. But it could be an injury. It could also be the case that if he's not played that much football, that he wasn't ready for the turnaround in a game of that pace. But again, you'd want him as up to speed as possible, because if you get, if James Sands were to pick up an injury at the weekend or in the first half away in Eindhoven, you want a strong centre half to bring off the bench. So I think start both of them. They're worth enough money that they should be able to go and handle a game like that. And they've been in the building for a while now, Derek. So although they've not played too many games, you'd hope that they'd be pretty familiar with what they're expected to do.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jim's comment here. Hi, Jim. He wants to stick with the back four on Tuesday. Need continuity before the next PSV game. I totally get that. The squad just now is just so strong at Rangers, and you need to bleed players into the side. I know there was a comment about Yilmaz. We need to give this lad time. Of course, he's coming to a new country. He needs to learn the language. Needs to learn the style of play and the unique nature of Scottish football, of course, as well. But Barisic has, for me, he's been pretty steady so far this season. I know he had a bit of a nightmare in Belgium, but that aside, I think he's been relatively okay. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see if there are any changes in the defence come Saturday lunchtime. Well, before we touch on that, there was some questions that came in. I just wanted to touch on this one here, Joshua, because you weren't on the video the other day there. Thoughts on Sands getting some criticism the other night. I thought he was decent and broke the press with his passing on a few occasions. Now, Stevie Clifford, the Four Lads Had a Dream blogger, has got a piece out on the website, folks, this morning. It is very good and detailed, and he talks about the criticism of Sands, saying it's a tad unjust. Would you tend to agree, Joshua? I thought he was okay the other night.
Yeah, I had the piece on this yesterday, Derek. And I mean, I don't really know if people are really criticising his performance on Tuesday. I don't really know what he did wrong. Yeah, PSV didn't have many chances. You could maybe say that early cross that De Jong almost converts, maybe question his positioning slightly. But I asked the manager about it, and he spoke about his intelligent work and duels. Sands is maybe 6'1", De Jong's maybe 6'3", 6'4". There's a big size difference. So if you're criticising someone for not winning headers I think you have to be a bit more realistic about that. There was one occasion where PSV had a good chance where where Sands probably didn't put De Jong off enough. And but then you've also got Goldson and Barisic don't stop the right winger whose name escapes me. Is it Saibari or something? I think Saibari.
Yeah.
It's a good player. So it's wider than that. Defensive statistics are always difficult to contextualize because sometimes good defending is not getting involved in a duel. And there's a good example in the piece on the website where Sands sometimes goes really high and gets tight to De Jong and stops the attack at source. And I think that's important. But also what he did on a couple of occasions was just set off and intercept the ball instead of leaving space behind to exploit. So there's a risk of going on and on about it as if I think he's the best defender in the world. I don't. I think there's elements of his game that look a tiny bit unnatural in a left centre-back role. Yeah, I think he'd be more comfortable when he's kind of the deepest line midfielder and has the ability to go in centre-back. But I think if you look at the games he's played, he had to play high and aggressive against Union in a man-marking system. Last week, on Tuesday, he had to play up against a really experienced striker who's, I know he's not Barcelona's finest ever, number 9, but he was at Barcelona a year ago. Big, physical, experienced player. And I thought he did well. So I don't really know what else you want from a centre-back to say that he's done okay. He's had a good game. Rangers conceded from 2 set pieces, which again we've written about in detail on the website, both analysis of the set pieces in that game and in a wider context of the season, what's changed. So yeah, Van Bronckhorst said very good in his duels, and he was an intelligent defender. So that would be kind of my take on it. I still think that Ben Davies would be first choice, personally, but I think you can see the type of Sands completed as well 91 out of 95 passes. Now I know a lot of those passes were what people would call safe passes, but if you look at what Rangers did in possession, it's about moving PSV from side to side, trying to find the pockets down either flank, which they did quite well for the goal. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Sands isn't the best defender in the world, but I think he's good enough for Rangers. I think he's done well there, and clearly the manager likes him enough to have let go of someone like Leon Balogun and instead play James Sands in a game like that on Tuesday night and the week before.
Yeah. Good morning to Dave who gets in touch. Morning all. Late again. We'll try harder next week. That's a fine, Dave. No more than that. Great to have your company as ever. Another comment that comes in sort of ties in with the defence before we move on, Joshua. And of course, it was comments made by Ali McCoist at the game on Tuesday night. Do we not think Balogun should be re-signed? Come on, gents, says Brian Miller. Of course, without a club still, Leon Balogun. Joy McFarlane wrote a piece on this actually the other day, saying that as much as everyone absolutely adores Leon Balogun, and I've got plenty of time for him, re-signing him isn't the route Rangers should be going down. Would you go along with that, Joshua?
Yeah, I'm just going to put that piece in the comments as well if anyone wants to read it on James Sands. Yeah, these conversations are always difficult because you want to. If you just come out and almost scoff at it, people maybe think that you're doing that in regards to the player's quality. I mean, Liam Balogun did really well for Rangers. It's some difficult games, but when you think of a free signing coming in, it was. I think you have to say it was a really good signing in hindsight, and he did really well. But the thinking that goes into squad planning, bringing in the likes of Suter, Davies, Sands, also the pathway for Leon King. You don't then go and re-sign a 34-year-old or 33-year-old central defender after you've conceded a couple of goals at corner kicks. I just don't think that football, big clubs are that reactionary. Maybe that is something that would have happened in the past, but I can't see it happening. But I think McCoist is also saying in isolation, look, here as Rangers have conceded a couple of headers. They don't have a lot of dominant aerial presences in that team tonight. Liam Balogun was at Ibrox last week as a spectator. So, I don't think he's saying that Liam Balogun is the answer to all Rangers' problems. I think it's a discussion in isolation. But yeah, I don't think that's the right thing. I agree with my comrade there, Adam. I don't think we need to sign another central defender. Let Ben Davies get up to speed. Here's a player who Rangers have spent significant money on in the peak of his career. He's coming in to be first choice. And you've got someone like Leon King as well there who has to see a pathway to the first team. What does it say to him, Derek, if you go out and say signing Balogun?
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Sean Martin says there is John Souttar injured. We'll hopefully get an update on John Souttar later on today, Sean. Of course, he's been missing the last couple of games. Be interesting to see what the situation is with him. Your midfield, Joshua, for Easter Road. And I'll tell you that I've got two defensive midfielders. You could say I've got Ryan Jack returning to the side alongside the man who is just, I mean, you just run out of superlatives. John Lundstrom. He and Lundstrom would be my midfield holding pair at Easter Road. Would you tend to agree?
Yeah, probably. Stephen Davis, I think, might play again in PSV. So yeah, Jack and Lundstrom, know you're going to get out of them. They can fulfill a number of different roles as well. You see them at the weekend against St Johnson, and Jack's running beyond the last line. Lundstrom's role, which was really interesting, we wrote about it on the website as well, kind of playing in behind, but almost like a line up in the number 6 to receive the ball and let the centre backs do the kind of initial passes. Thought that was really interesting, and he can just do so many different roles. You know, he can play the box to box role. He can play at centre half. Really versatile. So I think that's a strong midfield. I think this is a game where you probably go with two central midfielders.
Yeah, I totally agree. Your forward attacking midfield trio, then presumably Rangers will play that. I guess you would agree, Joshua, before we talk personnel?
Yes, and do you know who I'm playing at number 10, Derek?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Malik Tillman.
Yeah, the Tillman train, the Tillman Express train that you are driving. Certainly, I expect Tillman to start in that position. I've got Kent on the left and Rabbi Matondo on the right hand side. Of course, not playing on Tuesday night, but I think Easter Road could just be an ideal venue for him tomorrow. And Kent didn't have his best of games on Tuesday night, but again, I think if Kent's available and fit, you play him, I think.
Yeah, agree with all that. Would like to see Matondo start. I thought he did well at the weekend, 2 assists. What Matondo and Cholak as well, giving you off the ball. You know, you see it for the goal, the second goal against St Johnson, that kind of changes the game, kills the game off. It's a simple thing that Matondo does, but I think last season that simple thing a lot of Rangers players didn't do, which is just put everything into closing down the ball and making it difficult for the opposition to play out. So I'd play Matondo there. Would like to maybe see him from the right. Haven't had much of an opportunity for that so far. Tillman behind the striker. Didn't have his best game on Tuesday, but again, he's playing against Sankari, one of the best deep midfielders in Europe. Wins the free kick for the second goal. I thought he had good moments. Should have released the ball a couple of times quicker, but that's going to happen as well. You can't come in and have brilliant games all the time. No. I thought criticism was a little bit harsh. So yeah, Matondo, Tillman, Kent. I mean, that's an exciting attacking trio to be playing with for me, Derek, and Kent as well. Maybe didn't have his best game, but so often I think he's marked out of these games, and it becomes quite difficult for him.
Yeah,
would like to see him. You know, he started the domestic season well against Livingston. Would like to see him continue that, keep the numbers high going on through the start of the season.
Yeah, and listen, not everyone's a fan of Kent. William Lafferty gets in touch, starting to disagree regarding Kent. Goes missing in far too many games. Numbers not where they should be. I think it's slightly harsh. PSV obviously did their homework on him the other night, but yeah, I'd play Kent every week if he's totally fit, as David Kerr tends to agree. Therefore, it leaves the one position up front, Joshua, as we discussed. You think Alfredo Morelos is going to be brought back into the fold? For me, it's much of a muchness. I would have no qualms if El Buffalo was leading the line on Saturday lunchtime. However, Antonio Cholak has been sensational for Rangers so far since coming in. What is it, 4-4? It really should be 5-5. We had that goal ruled out at Livingston, of course. He's going to score. It's almost a guarantee. I think he's going to score at Easter Road. I just get that feeling about him just now, and he'll have that feeling as well. I think this guy's going to score 20 plus goals this season, and I think he's made for this occasion. But you would you play Morelos with a view of playing Cholak on Wednesday night?
All of Cholak's goals have come at Ibrox so far. Is that right? Yeah, Union, PSV, Kilmarnock, and St Johnstone.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's a striker who is going to play his best football when he doesn't need to do as much of the building up and can rely on his team dominating the ball. I don't know what the game will be like tomorrow in terms of how much control Rangers will have. So yeah, very much a flip up. I probably would be tempted to start Morelos just because he needs that. He needs games at some point, doesn't he? He needs that sharpness. You've got a lot of big games coming up. And Old Firm's only 2 weeks away as well. 2 weeks tomorrow, is it? The first Old Firm, I think it's September 3rd.
3rd of September, yeah.
So I think you want Morelos up to speed as quick as possible. And just quickly on Kent, definitely in parts of his Rangers career, you could have that criticism about his numbers. But I think after Van Bronckhorst came in last season, his numbers were pretty good. I can't remember his final assist numbers last season, but he spent a good couple of months out injured. He's not really a goal scorer. I think the only time he's ever racked up goals was when he played centrally under Gerrard. But from out wide, he's not going to... You see how Rabbi Matondo cuts inside and hits the bar against St Johnstone last weekend. I don't think Kent does that. I don't think that's his game. But the type of assists he got, especially last year in Europe, he obviously got the big goal away in Red Star as well. He also won about 3 penalties or something like that. So, yeah, he never hides. I don't think he quite has the quality always that when he's marked out the game, he can overcome that. But that's a difficult thing to do. But he had a little run at the end of the game on Tuesday night where he went past 2 players and just on the third one kind of got caught as it looked like he was about to get into the box. But yeah, on his numbers, I think after Van Bronckhorst has come in, they've managed to isolate, realise, his best trait is his creativity when he gets to the byline. And again, I can't remember his assist numbers off the top of my head from last season, but they definitely improved in the second half. So yeah, I think criticism of his numbers maybe slightly harsh at the moment. But that said, you need to go and do it this season again, don't you? And hopefully starting tomorrow.
Yeah, and good morning as well to Ian Ross, who gets in touch and says, sorry I'm late, unfortunately I had some work to take care of. Yeah, no problem at all, Ian. There's a comment came in from Alex. It says, we've all been talking about you and how late you are. So there we go, bants. Let's just finish up then, Joshua. It's a huge game, of course, tomorrow. Rangers have the chance of going clear at the top of the Premiership for, I think, 26 hours at least. The score prediction, are they going to do the business tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it will be just looking very quickly at Hibs' numbers there, their press numbers. I think they'll be aggressive and try and get at Rangers, but maybe that will just allow Rangers to play into space a little bit more and might suit them. So I say 2-1. I think it'll be tight tomorrow. It's also an early kickoff, and early kickoffs are never easy, are they, Derek? No, they're not. I remember I've said this before when Stuart McCall was the manager of Bradford and speaking to him down there, and this team played at 12 o'clock and you said it's just a physical thing. It's very, very hard to get them up for the game. It's just weird. Not just the players, but the fans as well. It just seems too early. And Rangers historically have had issues starting a bit slowly in these sort of matches. So hopefully that is not the case tomorrow. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Just a reminder again of the offer we've got on the website. Just £2 for 2 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. The link is in the comment section. Just £2 for 2 months worth of content. Just £2.99 per month thereafter. Joshua will be at the game for us tomorrow, so you'll get your usual pre-match reaction to the teams that are announced. Also, after the match as well, you can get in touch with your thoughts on the game. We'll be back again on Monday, but until then, enjoy your Friday and